Hello and welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop Quick Tip. Today we're going to take us back in time and bring us back to a simpler time. I thought maybe we would turn around and take a photo, send it all the way back to the days of Polaroids. Polaroids had that unique look that you could only get from a Polaroid. And I thought, why don't we try to reproduce that in today's digital world? So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing I did was I seen a lot of people, just trying to make frames, and they look phony is the way I'm saying it. So what I did is I hunted on the internet and I turned around and found an actual photo of a Polaroid frame, and that's what we have here. It's got imperfections in it. It's got some creases and wrinkles and all that, and that gives it that realistic illusion. And so that's what I'm going for. I want I want you to believe that the photo we're going to put together is going to be an actual Polaroid. And so I'm going to cover in some details, try to make it as realistic as we can. So this Polaroid here, I'll make available with a link so you can go ahead and download it yourself in the description if you want to go ahead and play with this. Okay? So once we have the frame, then we had to pick a photo, and I picked this photo here of a couple on the beach, and I thought this would be perfect for a Polaroid frame. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to take this frame using the move tool, and I'm going to click and drag and drop it in to the frame area here. And of course we have to resize it. So Command T, Command 0 to size it. That gives us the borders here so we can size it up into our frame, and we will move this frame up and down until we have them in the frame like we're looking that we want to do. Okay? So, and we can come in and do some sizing. And we'll try that for now, and we will see here. Okay, that looks pretty good for our first attempt. And so now we have the top layer being the couple and the bottom layer being our frame. So I'm going to temporarily turn off the top layer, and I'm going to select the background layer. What we need to do is we need to select this black area of the frame because we want to use that as a mask to put our picture in. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and just use the magic wand. Okay. And just go ahead and click once inside, and that should be pretty good. Now we look in here, we go, well, that's not a bad selection, but you'll notice that we're not quite into the black area for a good selection. So I'm going to expand the black selection. So I'm going to go up to Select, and then I'm going to modify the selection, and I'm going to expand it just a little bit. And I'm going to go 2 pixels maybe. We'll see how that looks, and click that. And look at that. That looks pretty good. So 2 pixels it is. Now we have a good selection. Okay. And we're going to, just for safety purposes, I'm going to go up to Select, and I am going to save this selection in case for whatever reason we need to come back to it. And I'll just call it the frame selection. That's just in case we need to have it come back for whatever reason. All right, so now we have that saved. Now I'm going to turn around and come in our top layer. I'm going to turn that on, select that layer, and then I'm going to put a mask. So I'm going to come down here to the mask and click on the mask, and you'll notice that it automatically puts the frame right around and clips our thing to that. So that's looking good. Not believable yet, but we'll make it there. All right. So the next thing we need to do is we need to clean up the borders. You see, it's a little bit messy around the frame edges here. So I need to make it more believable. And so in order to do that, on the mask, I'm going to go filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. I just want to make it more believable. Okay. So I'm trying to smooth it out. And so it looks good. Maybe one pixel. Okay. That's looking pretty good. That makes it a little nicer. And we still got that. We're looking for the realistic. We want you to walk away believing that this is an old Polaroid that we took a photo of. All right, so that's looking good. But the picture's too digital, right? We're going back to an analog day. Our digital picture just doesn't fit here aesthetically. So we need to do a little tweaking on this. So I'm going to add a adjustment layer, and I'm going to use a curves adjustment. And I'm going to clip that just to the layer below. Okay? So now what I want to do is I just want to fade it a little bit on the black points. So the left hand of the frame represents the shadow black points. The right side, of course, is the whites and the highlights. But I'm going to raise it up, which is going to cause, you see what's happening to the picture? I'm taking some contrast away. All right? And I'll take it up until I have that aged look that you get from a Polaroid. Maybe something like that. All right? So, again, look at what we did. There's our digital picture, and now we've made it more like a believable analog Polaroid. Okay? So you got to pay attention to details when you're working with this stuff so that you get the most realistic results. Okay, so we're coming right along. And another thing to do is, okay, let's put some text on the bottom here, because right back in the day when we did do this, we'd print out a Polaroid and we'd take a Sharpie or a felt tip, and we would write something on the frame to remember our events. So I'm going to open up a taskbar, and I'm going to go with a font. Let's go with Forever Young. Okay, and we're going to come in onto the font saturates. I'm going to turn off the caps, and I'm going to change the font. So let's a bucket works for me. That looks pretty good. Using the scrubby sliders here on the font, I'm just going to drag to the right until I get it to the size that I want. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Let's drag it back over. And that looks pretty good. All right, so a little detail here. We used to turn around when we did it. We would always tag it with the year, right? So we'll say this was 1980, and that's looking pretty good. We'll use the move tool, and we will do that. Now, again, detail is what we're looking for to fool the viewer, right? No one writes this perfectly straight, okay? Doesn't happen in real life. So we need to put a little slant like it was actually handwritten. So let's do that. Command and Control T. Okay? That puts the handles around it, and I'm going to just give it a slight rotation just to make you believe, okay, that this was handwritten. And you'd be surprised on how much that is. But we're still looking like the text is just thrown over the top, okay, of the picture, and it doesn't look real. We're going to use a little blend if trick here, okay? So on the background layer of the text, we're just going to double click. And now we're going to open up the layer style. And down here at the lower section is the blend if. And this confuses a lot of people, but if you go follow along, it'll start making sense. We want the underlying layer to show through, right? To make it look like it is here. So if I take the white point and I hold the Alt option, it splits that into two pieces. And now I can just drag it over, and you can see. Now I want you to watch the writing, okay? And because we split it, let me split that. There we go. And I bring it in. You see how the ink is starting to fade over? Okay, like how it is. I can give it that realistic look. Okay? And that makes you believe that this was the skipping of the ink in the creases and that. It makes you have that believability. Okay? And so now we have a realistic Polaroid. Okay? And you can go with all your things here. And now we have a thing. Now I may turn around and take some of the transparency down. Okay? Just to give it that aged effect a little more. Okay? And that's looking pretty good. And so maybe that's a little too much. So maybe I'll come in about there. And there we go. There is our 1980 Forever Young photo. And I think it's pretty believable. If you look inside, you got your borders, you blurred it, you have the thing, the composition, and we have a believable thing. And I think it's a winner. And so I've taken us all the way back to the Polaroid days. Okay, guys, that'll do it for me this week. Talk to you next week. Take care.